So when having this conversation about deserve and earn, there's some misconceptions. Some people will talk about when it appears that people may have gotten something that they didn't technically earn. There's a process to it. You see, even if you get, let's say, a promotion or put into a position that other people didn't feel like you deserve, or they didn't feel like you earned it, at some point in time, you had to take the steps to put yourself in position to be where you are. Whether that meant if you went to college for 4 years and you got a degree in a certain field, or if you took certain extra classes, or even applying for the job. And like I said, doing certain things along the way that help put you in a position to be selected. So yes, you earned it in your own right because you did things along the way to put you in that position. But sometimes it's not about the position you put yourself in or other people put themselves in. It's about the position you put yourself in. And I can talk about that from experience. I remember I worked a job one time. I was the best worker in the area, hands down. Time and time again, I got skipped over for promotions when it came to being leadership or whatnot, or going into supervising roles. It had nothing to do with my work. It had nothing to do with my work ethic. I didn't call off work. I didn't even really take vacations. I was very dependable. If I say I'm coming, I'm coming to work, I'm gonna show up. That's what it was. I'm gonna be there. They never had to worry about that part. My issue was my attitude. I was a good worker, but I knew I was a good worker. Sometimes I would antagonize the people around me, if they were being too slow or, showboating or whatever else. I would challenge my supervisor in front of people if I felt like he was wrong. And it wasn't about whether he was right or wrong. It was just about showing that respect. Not necessarily that he was out of pocket a lot, but it's just me not knowing the workplace politics. And that's what happens in life sometimes. It's not about what we do to establish ourselves, like the work we put in. We don't understand the politics of how the world works and the importance of relationships, networking, how you come across people, how you come off to people. I didn't understand that part. So that what was holding me back. And once I learned that, then things started clicking. I said, okay, I held myself back. Am I saying that there weren't points in time where he wasn't being fair to me? No, absolutely. Favoritism is going to happen. Favoritism is going to happen. If I had workers right now, I'm pretty sure that there will be some favoritism, whether I wanted to admit it or not, because you are going to favor the people that do a good job, and you're going to favor the people that make your job easier. Even if they're not the best worker, they make your job easier. Low maintenance, stay out of trouble. If you ask them to do something, they do it. So you're going to favor them. So could it be some favoritism? Yes, but it's also me not putting myself in a position to be favored. You understand? Hard work isn't always what's going to cut it, or the accolades or the know-how. There are some people that will be more willing to take somebody up under their wing and promote them that is teachable, that technically does not have the skills, but they have the desire and they feel like I can work with you, versus someone that has the know-how, but they're unteachable. There are times in life, I remember I lost a job one time that the way I lost the job, it was an unfortunate situation. I tried to call into work and they wouldn't pick. They had a call ID. They wouldn't pick up the phone. So I left a message, but according to policy, you couldn't leave a message. Right. And they said that was my second no call, no show, which it really wasn't, because the first time they gave me a no call, no show was I had a scheduled vacation day. And then they went back and blacked out that particular day and said that nobody could take off. And so when I took off, they tried to make it seem like I just didn't come to work. But of course, we were at their mercy. There was no union and none of that other stuff. But none of that was important. It was underhanded what they did. But I said, you know what? It's my fault that I'm here. Like, I have to take blame in that, because about a year prior to that, I had already felt like my time there had come to an end. And I kept saying, I need to find a new job. I need to go somewhere else. I don't feel like I can grow here. I don't feel like this is for me anymore, but I got comfortable. Sometimes in life, when you get comfortable, when there are decisions that need to be made and you refuse to make those decisions, life will make those decisions for you. It will put you in a position where you know what? You didn't take care of business when you were supposed to. Okay, I got it. So rather than me putting myself in a position where I moved away from that job and I was able to leave on my own terms, I got put in a position to where they forced me out, and now I'm having to operate on their terms and at the mercy of life. I got to try to find a job. I got to pay bills. Like nothing. It was not a smooth transition. Now I'm unemployed and I'm trying to figure it out. So when I talk about deserve and earn, when you go through situations, if you don't investigate it fully and try to see if there is something in there where you failed yourself, even if you failed yourself just with a thought process, then you may be failing yourself on a whole scale level because you're refusing to see what type of role you played in it. It doesn't mean that whatever you did was the most significant. Sometimes that's your thought process. You think that just because in the situation you only played 10% or 5% of whatever the outcome was, that it wasn't major. Poison is poison. So even if it's 95 or 90% to blame on somebody else, or, you know, they did the significant damage, you need to look at the role that you played. You tainted your own glass of water. Doesn't matter how much. Take accountability for it. So when we see people progressing in life and we see people getting walked through doors that we feel like we should be able to walk through, first of all, you don't know their journey. You don't know what they went through. You don't know their path. You don't know any of that. You're just making assumptions because of how you feel. But once again, what you feel like you deserve and what other people feel like you deserve is two different things. What you earn is what you earn. But even though you might feel like you earned it, or even if you put in the work to earn it, like I said, there are things that you could have done to undermine the work you put in, but there are things that other people could have done to put themselves in more favorable positions. And I'm not talking about other, like the normal stuff that people try to diverge into, you know, the backdoor politics. That's not always the case. Does that exist? Yes, but that's not always the case. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to help get you what you feel like you deserve in life through earning it, and how to realize how you earn the unfavorable outcomes or how you undermine yourself with the things that you allegedly were supposed to get. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it because I've been there. I have been there. I have made those decisions. I have had to look back and say, you know what? Even though the decision I made wasn't technically wrong, I made that decision. So I put me in that position. Simple as that. It's as simple as that. And the more you start trying to look at what other people are doing and trying to figure out, you know, how they farmed the system or how they, you know, skipped the line or whatever else, that's more time that you could be focusing on yourself. Focusing on yourself. When you play sports and you watch film, you're watching two films at one time. You're watching the opponent, but then you're watching film on yourself. You need to see where you messed up. You don't just study the opponent. You're watching yourself. You're learning yourself. Life is all about self-discovery. You're learning yourself. So if you don't do that, that's cool. But don't come back and cry about it. Don't come back and cry about it and sit back and I didn't deserve this or I deserve that. Look at what you're doing. How are you undermining your own efforts? And if you do see somebody that's doing something that's successful, pay attention. Instead of putting people down and trying to belittle them because you feel like you wouldn't do that. Okay, you wouldn't do that. That's why you didn't get it. It's fine if you don't want to do whatever the extra work or whatever it is. It's like I said, as long as it's nothing like degrading or something like that. Don't do the extra work. Don't do all the stuff that you feel like they're doing too much. That's fine. But don't turn around and complain when you see them excel and you're not excelling. Because there are times in life where you have to do things to give you the advantage. And a lot of that is understanding the politics, the inner workings of things. And sometimes it's just listening to your own internal voice. Maybe that door wasn't meant for you. And there was something that told you to leave a long time ago or to go an alternate route. And you didn't do that. You tried to force your way through this door. So you made it all the way to the end of the road just to find out that they're still not going to let you in that door because it was never meant for you. Just like with that job, it wasn't meant for me to stay there for 20 years. As a matter of fact, when I started that job, I said I was only going to work it for 6 months. The only reason I stayed is because I was in the break room one day and this guy looked at me and he said, you might as well quit. You ain't made for this job. Like it's too much for you. And I took that personal because I was dumb. You know, I didn't stick to my plan. I let him talk me out of my game because now I got to prove to you that I belong here. And I stayed there for 9 years and turned down other opportunities and other things that I could have been doing in my life, including a job that I ended up working after I left that place after 9 years. The job that I ended up working was a job that I originally was supposed to try to go to after working at my previous place for 6 months. I was supposed to work there for 6 months and then apply over here, and I ended up staying for 9 years, got fired, and then end up at that other place. Right. So that's something you need to pay attention to when we have this conversation about deserve and earn and whatever else. You need to understand exactly what it means and how you can work against yourself, even when you do all the work and the things that you feel like you're supposed to do and meet the requirements to get what you want.